Me. How do I begin? Where do we begin? Let's begin with a beverage. I already told y'all in the last video where you can get one of these. This is from Target, the bottle. And I made some blueberry syrup. I'm not better than you. I'm just doing more with what I've been given. Okay. And then we have some soda people. We have some lemon flavored sparkling water. Ooh, that did not really have a bubble to it. I'm ready to yap. Hey YouTube world, it's me, Evelyn. I just thought that I would come on here and gab. Are we just jumping in? It has been said that there are no baddies in Atlanta. James and Fuhad, the men of, what is their podcast? I don't listen to them. Is it Shits and Gigs? Shits and Giggles. It matters, but it also doesn't matter. So here's my disclaimer. I do not know these young men. I do not listen to them or subscribe to them. Those of you who watch my TikTok, know how I feel about heterosexual men being allowed to have podcasts in general. Does that mean some good people get caught in in a crossfire? Yes, but that's a risk I'm willing to take. If elected president, y'all worried about the wrong things. If elected president, I promise to take back the microphone. I'll pay you back. Like Kamala was talking about guns. I'll pay you back for your audio equipment. So it's not going to be a total loss. I'll pay you what the microphone is worth. I'll pay you what it's worth, but you shall not, if elected president, you won't be allowed to have a microphone. In general, off rip. And you might be like, Evelyn, what about free speech? What about it? Write a book report. I'm looking at where has it got us? It gets us in a bind every time, don't it? So anyway, James and Fuhad are these two dudes who have a podcast called Shits and Gigs. They're from the UK. That's important to the story. So it's really two things that's going on here. So apparently James and Fuhad were on this podcast with this guy. Problem number one. What's his name? Andrew Schultz. Oh, Andrew Schultz makes me want to pop a Prilosec OTC. Back in the day, let me put a time period on it. I listened to Brilliant Idiots. I know, don't shoot me. I listened to the Brilliant Idiots, which was Andrew Schultz's podcast with Charlemagne the God. I gave it a whirl in like 2015. Because I give peace a chance. Okay, when I say we should take back their microphones, I'm not just saying that out of nowhere. I consume the media. Oh my God, so dirty. I consumed the media. Listening to that podcast, I felt the polyps forming on my intestines. I could feel the ulcers forming. I had to stop because I was like, why am I doing this to myself? So that was their first problem, going on Andrew Schultz's podcast. I think it's called Flagrant. Although, okay, I can admire, the way that as a comedian, he has, like paved his own way and like direct to consumered his special instead of going the traditional route. That's interesting. I have listened to the interviews and things like that. But not my cup of chai. Anyway, so James and Fuhad go on this podcast.
What is the black girlfriend effect?
This is you don't know about this.
Glow up the other culture.
Yeah, so you'll see a guy who's had a black girlfriend. All of a sudden, he's got buzz cut, clean shape up.
I like that.
They shave their hair because they start losing it. Because they're so stressed being around this black girl complaining about shit all the fucking time. That's why they gotta shave their hair.
Nah, bro. White guys with black girlfriends, they
grow a beard
because
there's more cushion when they get slapped the fuck out of it. That's hilarious. I think
you didn't have to big teeth laugh. You know what I mean? I think we all can understand maybe. Because we are forgiving people. Hey, we forgive and forget. Okay, we understand, a little, trying to be polite. Maybe we can understand that. But it's the fact that they big teeth laugh. Why can we see number 19? Why can't we see number 19 and number 30? Huh? So there they go, big teeth laughing. You could say cackling. If you're trying to look for an accurate word, they might have been cackling. So it's really two things that's going on here. You have James and Fuhad went on the podcast with Andrew Schultz, which I think that little situation was brought up after they had more recently been on another podcast where they said they had been in Atlanta for some time and they said there was no baddies in Atlanta. Of course, United States Twitter, because James and Fuhad are from the UK, of course, United States Black Twitter, Black TikTok is up in arms. It's no baddies in Atlanta. You can't be for Leo. So really, it's two things going on. Let me explain this a little better before I get ahead of myself. There's two podcasts happening, two situations, two remarks. Both are being used by their listeners to kind of build a case and be like, do y'all even like Black women to begin with? Because it's not looking good. The proof be kind of in the pudding. Recently, as in this week, I think, maybe last week, they were on a podcast called Poor Minds. Poor Minds is hosted by two Black women. I believe they are transplants to Atlanta. I don't know these young women, I'm sorry. And the conversation of, how are you finding Atlanta? Pip, pip, cheerio. You know, you came across the pond, what it's looking like. How are you feeling? And they said, dang, we ain't seen no baddies in Atlanta. We really have not seen no baddies. We still have a couple days left to go. Maybe we'll see the baddies. People got up in arms about that. They felt away. So that happened recently. So then people are like, well, if we go back to not too long ago, a month ago, they were on Andrew Schultz's podcast and they was cackling at some jokes at the expense of Black women. So it's feeling like, a lot of people were saying, it's feeling like 1 + 1 = 2. What's really good? Do you get what I'm saying? And that's really what's going on. So allow me to reference a man with a podcast, a heterosexual man with a podcast who I personally enjoy. Here, let him explain to you what people felt about the whole no baddies in Atlanta.
As much as I want to say I'm surprised by this whole thing with James and Fuhad, I'll just say that when they said they ain't see no baddies in Atlanta, we was in Atlanta, we didn't see no baddies. No baddies in Atlanta. Okay, now we can start doing some deduction. You either don't like Black women or you like men. Because you can literally go anywhere in Atlanta or the metro Atlanta area, any store at any given time of the day and find a fine-ass Black woman. Anytime. Fine.
See? I'm actually not a misandrist. Thanks, Deontay, for your contributions, and I'm sorry that you also are a casualty. Them's the rules. I'll miss you. I'll miss you when you're gone. Again, only if elected president. The power is in y'all's hands. No, it is not a crime to not find any baddies in Atlanta. It's not a crime. It's just, this is what it is. If at every turn, every chance you're given to say a thing, to have an opinion, specifically when it comes to Black women, because when we say baddies in Atlanta, that's who we're talking about, right? Biffaleo. Every chance you get to give an opinion or to hear an opinion about Black women, it's always negative. People feel that because this is what you could have said. You could have said, I don't know if we've been to the right places. Maybe they did say that. Again, I didn't watch. I'm not finna go watch that. Maybe we haven't been to the right places. Then I know the girls asked them, what is a baddie? And he didn't give an answer. But anyway, this is what I'll say. You know when you take a child to a restaurant and it's a nice restaurant, but what do they eat? Chicken tendies. I'm not looking for food advice from someone who eats chicken tendies. And this is how, and I think this creates the diaspora wars. This is where the diaspora wars come from. Because the concept of a baddie is indigenous to the United States. You wouldn't know, you wouldn't know a baddie if it hit you over the side of the head without United States Black culture. And this is how y'all do, this is how it starts. This is what starts the diaspora wars. I am tired. Luckily, this information has nothing to do with me, right? I am not a young man seeking the baddies. Again, that's not my community. But it reminds me when I was in college and I studied abroad in Brazil. To prepare for that trip, I took a Portuguese class. There was this white dude in my class. Just close your eyes and imagine a frat daddy. That's what we used to call them, a frat daddy. He was in that class taking Portuguese because he planned on studying abroad in Brazil also. We didn't end up being in the same program. You get to know people, you get to know people, you get to know people, and it dawns on me, he's going to Brazil because he thinks the girls is finna look like Adriana Lima. Is that her name? Yeah, the frat daddy think everybody gonna look like Adriana Lima, and I said, baby, I'm going to Brazil because I think everybody's gonna look like Amara La Negra. She's not Brazilian, by the way, so I'm not trying to, you know what I mean? I'm just trying to say of the Latino constituency, my frame of reference, right? And I was like, you're gonna be sorely disappointed. It's no baddies in Atlanta, cause it's not possible. It's actually not possible for you to have known what a baddie is, cause that's the source material. That's the source material. This leads me to talk about rage bait. Then apparently they apologized, and apparently the apology was crappy. The best thing you can do is stop listening to them. It's time to rise up and stop platforming people who are buttheads to you specifically. And I'm on this Reddit. I'm looking at the Shits and Gigs subreddit. People are unsubscribing from the Patreon. And when I say people, I mean black women. That's who the jokes was about. They don't like the apology because it wasn't really an apology. This person says, this stings because I went to one of their US shows and the crowd was 75 to 80% black women easily. I'm telling you, ladies, sometimes you just gotta let it go. What's it? The 4B movement in Korea? They refuse heterosexual marriage, childbirth, romance, and relationships. This is from the BBC in February 2024. South Korea has the lowest birth rate in the world. Now, I don't know if we can attribute it to the 4B movement. I have no idea. So I don't want to, that's my little disclaimer. I don't want to put two and two together. But no means no, bro. And sometimes I catch myself. I be listening to a little podcast, a little Trevor Noah interview of a celebrity or something. Then I'm like, la 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 la. Sometimes you got a 4B movement your media intake. Okay? And that's where I'm coming from with it. The damage far outweighs the contributions to society. For Leo. We got to be for Leo. We got to nip it in the bud. Now, there might be some people that we lose, you know, a science podcast here or there. And I'm okay with losing that. How about that? It's worth it. It's worth it to have a moment of peace in this world. And you think I'm joking because I'm laughing. I'm not joking. Now you might be like, Evelyn, don't you have a podcast on Patreon with your brother? Sorry. Sacrifices must be made. I'm sure Baby Blow will understand. But something's gotta give. All in all, I mean, I've said all I wanted to say because, again, I don't listen to the podcast, so I don't really know too much. But I will say it sucks. It absolutely sucks to be a fan of somebody and to be disrespected by them. Now, if you are a straight male internet cousin with a podcast, just know that I'm sorry. I'm sorry it's had to come to this. And I hope you understand where we are in time and space that led to this decision. I'm sure your podcast is great. And it's not your fault. How about that? How about it's not your fault? But the consequences, isn't that how it goes? Isn't that how it typically goes? In school, when we were little kids in school, two people cutting up. Not everybody gotta run laps. Tragic. Absolutely tragic. And maybe once we have wiped the slate clean and we have brought humanity back to homeostasis, maybe little by little, this is in my perfect world, remember, if elected president, maybe little by little, I can start reintroducing a podcast. Drastic times, is that the phrase? Drastic times call for drastic measures, and we are in drastic times right now. Society is crumbling all around us. And I believe that one of the roots is men with microphones. If I could afford to go back to school and study it and codify it and put it into a research paper, I would. But I don't have the resources right now. Did I use codify correctly? I was trying that one out. Kinda. Legitimize? Maybe I meant legitimize. Can't blame a girl for trying. Hooked on phonics. Hard pivot to our next topic, which is Diddy. And this is what I want to talk about. This is something that I want to say. For those of you who don't know, Diddy was arrested in New York, and he is held on no bond. Like, no, you can't, there's no amount of money. The judge said you can't pay your way out. This is from AP News. The second judge denies bail to Sean Diddy Combs. Oh, they denied that bond. That bond, what they proposed was $50 million, which I guess 10% of that is $5 million. I read the thing. What is it called? Affidavit? Indictment? Again from the AP, Sean Diddy Combs faces federal sex trafficking and racketeering charges in an indictment that was unsealed Tuesday. Yeah, so I read the indictment, and it's bad. We all know that it's bad. There's bad stuff. He did bad things allegedly, right? You got to put allegedly. But here's the thing that I want to talk about when it comes to this. There is a time and place for comedy. And now is not that time. Because these crimes could fill seasons of Law and Order SVU. These crimes are what? Especially heinous. Now is not the time to make jokes about the activities that went down, about the people doing these activities, even about the amount of baby oil. I know the police searched his, I want to be correct. The authorities raided his Los Angeles and Miami homes, resulting in the seizure of supplies, including drugs and more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant. I know the jokey jokes are there. It's only a joke. It's only a joke if both people were consenting. And that's literally what he was arrested for, is coercion. The indictment includes several illegal activities, including sex trafficking, forced labor, prostitution-related transportation and coercion, narcotics offenses, kidnapping. So there's really nothing jokey in there. And I feel like because it's Diddy, because it's pop culture-y, because we've heard him speak and we know the phrases he be saying, he's been very memeable throughout the decades. People are using this time to make jokey jokes, and please don't. It's kind of the same way people joke about going to prison, and they're literally making jokes about being assaulted in prison, and I'm like, that's not a joke. Oh my God. Yeah, I read it. Girl, it's bad. It's bad. I mean, it's not like, obviously, it's not descriptive. It's very just legal. Combs carried or brandished firearms to, quote, intimidate or threaten others. So that's my plea. That's my request, my humble request, is that as this goes down, please don't make jokey jokes about it. People have already started making the jokes, especially about the baby Earl. And this is especially sensitive because there's this added layer of shame. If, again, it's alleged, I would say allegedly, if any of the people involved, people coerced, were men. Because it's about to be real victim blaming. It's about to get real homophobic. It's about to get real. It's about to get bad. It's about to get bad. So I just want to put that out there. Make sure the jokey jokes be at the correct person's expense. Let me give you an example. Do you remember when TD Jakes made a Sexy Time album? It's fine if you don't. But he made an album for obviously married couples because he is Christian or whatever, a pastor or whatever, for married couples to enjoy, so that they didn't have to listen to the worldly music while they do the godly deed. Now, if you want to make jokes about that, like that's something you can make jokes about because it's gnarly, but there are no crimes taking place. Someone said he had 1,000 bottles of lube, but he couldn't slip out of jail. See, that's a joke. And this is what I'll end on. The concept of gallows humor. So there's this thing called gallows humor. And gallows humor is just kind of like what it sounds like. This idea that two people are at the gallows about to be hung, about to be executed, and they turn to each other and say a joke. They make a joke about their situation. Hang in there. It's gallows humor because they are both facing the same fate. They are commiserating through comedy. Now, if the person in the crowd watching the execution, or if the guy about to pull the lever makes that same joke, that is terrible. You are now making fun of someone's situation at their expense. That's, again, tying back to James and Fuhad and Andrew Schultz. The jokes about black women were at black women's expense. They don't even have the testicular fortitude to make a joke at their own expense. That's what my high school history teacher used to say. Instead of saying have the balls, he would say have the testicular fortitude. Really? Actually be a comedian. You know what I mean? Be an observant person. Both them topics was low vibrational. Both them topics was so low vibrational. I can feel myself drain, go down. I can feel myself slowly descending into madness, really sadness. Just thinking about all of that. That's all I have for today's video. Those are the two things that were on my mind. I mean, there's obviously a lot to talk about in politics, but talking about Pride, Low Sec, OTC. Talking about politics makes me want to take, let me make sure I have the correct one. Klonopin. Yeah. I want to promote relaxation and prevent seizures. That's what talking about politics made me want to do. Anyway, in the comments below, let me know your thoughts on things. Hope y'all are doing well. I hope to be back to kind of regularly scheduled programming pretty soon, like the Q&As, maybe some vlogs here and there. I haven't been on TikTok in the past couple of months, but I'm ready to come back, I think, and do some decluttering. I've been decluttering my clothes over there. I'll link all of that in case you want to watch that. But maybe on here I'll be posting some decluttering videos because I want to declutter my closet, the kitchen, girl. In the comments below, let me know what's poppin', and let me know if you're a baddie from Atlanta, please. And I will see you on the internet somewhere.